Shalom Tamadim, as we begin Parshat Chukat, we have some key things. Now, some of these are directly related to the Parsha. Some of these are bigger picture that relate to the Parsha, but don't come from the Parsha. Both categories are things that we need to know in order to understand this Parsha. We're not going to spend so much time on it, but there's some really key ideas that are fundamental to understanding Judaism that we need to understand. So we're going to take a look at these now. These vocabulary terms will be something you're accountable for, so we really need to know these well. We're going to be doing reviews as well as making flashcards for them. Here's our beginning introduction to it. The first term is tzivah, mitzvah. There are different types of mitzvot. We're going to see 3 types of mitzvot, but it's literally a commandment, right? You could be mitzaveh or tzivah somebody as well. Person can do it. But when we refer to it, refer to Hashem doing it. It actually comes from the word savta, which means a connection. It is a connection to Hashem, not just that He told us to do it, but it's a connection to Hashem, that we get to do something as a relationship with Him. But fundamentally it means connection or mitzvah, commandments. That is a word you're familiar with. The second word is chukat. Now we're going to see a chok is one of the categories of mitzvot, and it refers to a mitzvah that we don't really understand. There's certain mitzvot that make perfect sense to us. Don't steal, every society has that. Don't kill, how could you have a functional society if you have that? Pesach, like we want to remember our history. Then there's things like chukim, basar b'chalav. Don't have milk and meat together, milk together. Why? Right? Now there are reasons for them, but referring to mitzvot that at face value, when we first look at them, we don't really understand it. They're not necessarily logical in the sense that we'd come up with them ourselves. They relate to something that's a deeper spiritual meaning that require understanding for. The next word here is para. It means cow. Now, are cows fundamental to Judaism? They come up a lot, a fair amount actually, but we're going to see at this parsha it is very, very relevant in multiple ways. As we need to know, the word para means cow. No, there should in fact be a dagesh, a dot in the pei. It's para. Next is aduma. Now you already have bells going off of para aduma, something that's going to come up, the red cow. But just knowing that the word adom or aduma means red, a red thing. So para aduma is a red cow. Comes from the word adom, red. Now, tameh is more complicated. Tameh means impure. It refers to spiritually impure. Sometimes we relate to that as something that, like if someone does an avera or sin, they have some level of tuma to them, but it also relates to a technical set of laws that if you touch something that is tameh, could be not kosher food, could be a dead animal that was not shechted properly or a not kosher animal. Certain bodily functions cause tuma. When someone dies, it causes tuma. Even certain things that are positive, right? Having a child causes tuma. It's a spiritual impurity. It's not good or bad, although it tends to be associated with a more of a negative connotation. But it is a status that you can undo, right, by going to a mikveh, by becoming tahor, and it is generally makes it more difficult to serve Hashem properly. It is harder. You're not allowed to go to the Beit HaMikdash if you're tameh. You are allowed to go into a shul if you're tameh, but you're not allowed to go to the Beit HaMikdash if you're tameh. Even on the Har Bayit today, the Temple Mount, there's certain things that are limited when you are tameh. Now, the opposite of tameh is tahor. Certain things you can make tahor. A person that becomes tameh can become tahor. Many items, if you make a spoon per se, let's say, tameh, it can become tahor. Most things start off as tahor, and they become tameh. If something becomes tameh, sometimes they can become tahor. Not everything can, right? Clay cannot become tahor. Glass most likely cannot become tahor. Well, it's a little more complicated. And the ways of doing that often include going to a mikveh. Sometimes there's a korban involved, and sometimes the mitzvah of the para aduma, the red cow, involved, which we'll see a lot more a little bit later in this unit. But it means pure, spiritually pure. Now, just because something is tahor doesn't mean it's good, right? You can have a tahor sword that can do a lot of damage, although that would make it tameh also. But something that is tahor means it's spiritually pure. It is theoretically easier to use that to connect to Hashem, but again, it has to be done with proper intentions, proper behavior for that to actually work and be the case. But tahor usually has a positive connotation and a positive thing, easier to connect with Hashem with. Now, as we said, para aduma is a red cow. It is a chok. It's not something that we fully understand. In fact, it is called the chok of the Torah. You take a red cow, you burn it, you mix it with some other ingredients, which we will see, and the ashes of that actually make other people tahor. It is the only way to become tahor if you come in contact with a dead body. So it is mitzvah we actually are lacking today, and we need for the Beit HaMikdash for many other things. But the para aduma, literally the red cow, is a mitzvah, which we'll see much more later on. Now, tamima, or tamim, refers to something that is perfect. It is perfectly clean or perfect in its character, could relate to a personality that is very, very wholesome or perfect, very innocent. Any of those words relate. We have a mitzvah to be tamim with Hashem, that we can't be playing games with Hashem. We really have to be honest and wholesome with Him. And we're going to see that para aduma has to be tamim, tamimah, has to be totally, we'll see what it has to be totally, but totally something. I mean, you can think of what it is. Now, the Kohen we have seen at length. We saw that Aaron was challenged by Korach via a series of tests between the machtot, by the ketoret, by the matot. We saw that he is proven to be the leader, the ones that are going to serve in the Beit HaMikdash and kind of be the liaisons, the representatives for the Jewish people in certain areas of serving Hashem. Now, we all have a responsibility to serve Hashem ourselves, but they bring the karbanot for us, they serve us, they have certain jobs that not everyone else gets to do. Because of that job, because of that kind of extra holiness, extra kedusha that comes from that was given to Aaron, as we saw, and then his descendants, his family, they also have a higher expectation and standard for tahara, of being tahor. This is why a Kohen is not allowed to come in contact with a dead body, unless it is for certain relatives, the Kohen Gadol, even not for them. So they have a little bit of a responsibility in that sense to maintain a higher level of kedusha and tahara. Now, the Mishkan was the temporary Beit HaMikdash in the Midbar in the first few hundred years in Israel, in Eretz Yisrael, as they came in. It was functional as the Mishkan. You had the Mizbeach, you had the Mizbeach HaZahav for the Ketoret, you had the Aron there, you had the Ohel Moed there, the Azara, people would go, the Chatzar, people would go there to bring Karbanot, the Kohanim would serve there, and you had a really functional Beit HaMikdash that traveled along with them through the Midbar that they made. Again, to enter into the Mishkan, you had to be tahor. Into the inner parts of the Mishkan, you had to be a Kohen as well, and tahor. So you had a lot of responsibilities, a lot of expectations of kavod, of honor in the Mishkan. Within the Mishkan, the more inner section of that is the Ohel Moed. That is kind of the place that less people frequent. Moshe was allowed to go there. The Kohen Gadol was allowed to go there in the inner sections of it. But it is the more inner section where the Aron rested, where Nevuah, prophecy, came from. And it was a very, very special place, kind of the holiest place. It would have been called the Kodesh HaKadashim in the Beit HaMikdash later on, and was a very special place. Most people were not allowed to go there. Now, similar to that word, you'll see the word Ohel and the word Ohel Moed are the same. An Ohel is a tent. It is enclosed space. A room is an Ohel. A tent is an Ohel. A box can be an Ohel. A tower could be an Ohel, or many of them. A hallway, any place that is closed off is going to be an ohel. And we're going to see there is a halacha that the ohel can transfer tuma, that impurity, from a dead body to anything or anyone in it, which means that a Kohen has a limitation against going into an ohel. Right? This sign is posted somewhere where there's a burial or a dead body or body parts, maybe. So an ohel, for that case, a Kohen can't go into because they can't go close to a dead body. So an ohel is something that a Kohen is limited. And we're going to see that when a dead body is there, anything in that ohel, that closed space, will become tameh. Now, the things that become tameh are a kli or kalim. A kli or kalim literally means a dish or a cup or a tool or any utensil, anything that is used for something that is not attached to the ground. There's certain materials they can be made of that become tameh, and generally speaking, a kli or kalim can become tameh. They can also often become tahor, although there are exceptions. You just bring them to a mikveh. Some things like clay cannot, even if they are clay. Now, mate, again, as we said, just refers to death, a dead body, a person who is dead. Again, a dead body is called the avo tatuma, the father of tuma, the most tameh thing. It can make a person tameh, can make things tameh, can really make almost anything tameh, and is most difficult to become tahor with. We're going to see that comes up a fair amount. A chet is a sin. Officially, the word refers to a accidental sin, something you didn't mean to do or you slipped up with. It generally means a sin. Now, it's going to come up in our story because it relates to the chet ha'egel. Now, an egel is just a baby cow. Remember that cow connection from earlier? Maybe they'll have something to do with each other. But the chet ha'egel refers to when Moshe Rabbeinu was on Har Sinai, and the Jewish people miscalculated the chet. They made a mistake how long it was going to be there, and then they made a big mistake, and they made a golden calf. Right? The egel hazahav is the golden calf, or the chet ha'egel is the sin of the calf. They're the same case. And they made golden calf, started dancing to it, some even started praying related to it. It was a really big deal. There were a lot of consequences for that incident. We're going to see how this connection of cows might relate to each other in our parsha. Now we have this word vayikach or lakach. We've seen that before. Means to take. Right? They're going to take certain things. We're going to give it a recipe for paraduma in this parsha. Sounds like a delicacy. And we're going to see how to make that. We're going to learn what some of these things are. And the Kohen is going to take them. Vayikichu, they will, or vayikach, lachach. They're going to take these things and make the paraduma with them. Those are our key terms. Your next step will be to do the review sheet of these terms. And we're also going to make some flashcards so that you guys really know these really well. So we'll see then that.